Cheese! Hey everyone, my name is SpiritBuddy. In today's video, I'm going to be interviewing a video game developer by the name of KaratKurro. In this video, you're going to learn more about him and the behind the scenes of what it's like to be a video game developer making games. I really hope you enjoy it. Check it out. Hey everyone, SpiritBuddy here. Today I have the pleasure of speaking with KaratKurro. He is an indie game developer currently working on a game called Mythcaller: The Nightmare Shaman. KaratKurro, how are you doing today? How's everything?
I'm pretty good. How are you?
I'm doing swell. This is an honor to be interviewing you. I'm super excited to get to know you on a personal level, so I cannot wait.
I can't wait either.
Mythcaller: The Nightmare Shaman is a 3D platformer fused with monster-catching RPG elements. You're capturing monsters, fusing them together, and fighting them in real-life combat. I'm curious to know, but what made you want to make a game like this?
Well, it's a spiritual successor to a game that I made starting back in 2011 called Xander the Monster Morpher. And that game was basically just this small little game passed between my friends where it was really memey, it was really jokey. There wasn't any kind of grand plan for it, but over the years I got nostalgic for it, so I ended up making a remake for it in 2019 called Xander the Monster Morpher Universe Breaker, and at that point I kind of saw a niche that I was carving in the genre, just completely incidentally, so I just figured, you know what, I might as well evolve it to match what I can do now, as opposed to what I could do when I was like 14.
Wow, so you've definitely been developing for quite some time now.
Mostly just small stuff until now, though.
Very nice. Like, were you making games just like to practice? Were you making games for friends to check out? Like, what was what made you want to make games in the first place?
That was basically just for me and my friends. I didn't want to be a developer or whatnot. I originally wanted to be a novelist, actually. But
Ooh, okay.
eventually, I found that I liked telling stories in the medium of games more than in the medium of printed words, so I just figured, you know what? I might as well just keep doing it, because my friends tended to like the games, and
Cool.
when they didn't, they would grill me until I would change it to make it good.
Very nice. Yeah, like definitely like the more that you practice at it, the more that you get better. And I think that's really cool that you stuck with it for years now. Definitely, you learn more every year. You learn something new. When I looked at some of the videos for Mythcaller: The Nightmare Shaman, the game reminded me of old school Legend of Zelda, Super Mario 64, and Pokemon. Are these comparisons accurate?
Pretty fair comparison. Matter of fact, Zelda is my artist's favorite game of all time. When it comes to the Mario 64 and Pokemon, like, that is definitely something that is very close to what the game is. Being a 3D collectathon platformer, you collect golden feathers, kind of like the stars in Mario. It's very freeform and open like Mario. And you get monsters like in Pokemon.
Yeah, I love that. Like capturing monsters, exploring, discovering, and I've always been a fan of collectathons. Especially like Banjo-Kazooie, Super Mario 64, and the sorts. Like that's like one of my favorite genres growing up as a kid. So just having like the hybrid of those two come together it's like a treat to me. What's been the players' responses like when watching the trailers of Mythcaller? Like what's the feedback about the game?
So, it kind of depends on where you've heard of the game from. People that have come in from Xander the Monster Morpher mostly focus on the gameplay and the speedrun ability of it. I know Xander's big #1 speedrunner, the world record holder, is like drooling at the mouth looking at all the movement. But then, when you get people that are new, that don't know about Xander, they just come in from Twitter or Reddit and whatnot, they tend to like the graphics, the way that it's 2D in the 3D environment and whatnot. Those are like probably 70 to 80% of the comments I get on Twitter and Reddit,
Very nice.
with
Yeah.
almost no one really mentioning the gameplay. But then when someone does bring it up, just like, wait, hold on, is this a collectathon? It's like all of a sudden the floodgates open up and people start replying to that person, going like, "Oh my god, really? It's everything I would have wanted." And it's just like, I feel like I should show a bit more of the gameplay because a lot of people are just focusing on the graphics until someone brings it up.
Yeah, like I have to say, like when I looked at the trailers for the game, the graphics, the aesthetics really captured a lot that I like in games. Um, I did not know there was a speedrunning aspect to the game. I did not know of that. And the person's probably like you mentioned, he's probably like thinking of like ways on how to speedrun this game that's not even out yet. So that's one of the things that I've gathered when it came to your game, Mythcolor, is just how pretty it looked. It looked incredible, and it reminded me like another game called Demon's Turf. The background is 3D, but the character is like 2D, kind of like pixelated.
It is definitely going to be a really fun game when it's finally done. And yeah, I know Demon Turf too. I've never actually talked to the dev yet. Usually I do talk to the devs of whatever games I'm interested in, but for some reason they just kind of missed me until now. I might have to change that pretty soon.
Maybe after this interview, many more people are gonna find out about your game, and they're gonna be curious. They're gonna come to your social medias, and they're gonna talk to you, and who knows what can happen, right? So, since Mythcolor is heavily inspired by Pokemon, which Pokemon games have you played the most?
Well, actually, I wouldn't quite say that it was inspired by Pokemon. I would say that the comparison is fair,
Mm-hmm.
but actually, I'm not too into Pokemon.
Oh, okay, okay.
Well, I mean, just to answer the Pokemon one, I would say Gen 2 is probably my favorite. I did like that when I was a kid, but it didn't really influence this game that
Mm-hmm.
much.
Okay, okay.
Uh, when it comes to the monster taming elements of this game, a lot of them are completely original because the game is based off of Xander the Monster Morpher, which was just made completely on a whim for my friends. But I'd say my favorite monster taming game would be Dragon Quest Monsters. It's a series that has been going on for almost as long as Pokemon. A matter of fact, the parent series that it came from, Dragon Quest, even predates Pokemon. And it I feel like every game just does something really, really well. Like, with Pokemon, I like the first few, but I haven't really played it to any serious capacity in a long, long time. But with DQM, every time a game gets released, I am on it. And they just do a really, really bang up job every time the games come out. A really weird title, and until you know like where it came from, it's the monsters of the Dragon Quest franchise.
To the players out there who have never heard of your game right now, what is your pitch to them to get them interested in Mythcolor, the Nightmare Shaman?
Well, the game is pretty unusual, I will say that. If you are looking for the normal fantasy aesthetic with a kind of orchestrated soundtrack and a very predictable storyline, this might not be for you. Because this game is going to have a very alternative disco type soundtrack. The graphics are 2D in the 3D world. Everything's really vaporwave and vibrant and colorful. So it is a very different looking and sounding game, but the gameplay is something that I feel is very unique and needed as well. Like, it's a collectathon fused with a monster catching RPG. I feel like that's something that just makes a whole lot of sense. You know, in something like Banjo Kazooie, Mario, Tak, you're going throughout the world collecting random doohickeys, usually just to progress the story, but in this game, you're collecting the random stuff in order to unlock more of the world, in order to collect monsters, to fight each other in this real-time combat. So your movement options that you get usually in those collectathons, think about like the Bubble Bowl in SpongeBob Battle for Bikini Bottom,
The way that the game is looking so far, it looks very impressive, um, technically. But yeah, like the what you're explaining right now about the game, that is very clever. I don't see a lot of people thinking in that direction.
I mean, I think that's pretty cool. I would much rather make a game that's unique, that you really can't find anywhere else, than to just ride a wave of popularity and follow whatever somebody else is doing.
I could definitely commend that because yeah, you want to make the game that you want to make, and hopefully, with a lot of passion and a lot of inspiration, people will take notice. And yeah, there's gonna be people that want to play it. What are some ways you are getting the word out?
Well, right now we're in pretty early development, so it's just the two of us working on the game and on the marketing. Really, it's just me working on all the marketing.
Hmm.
So we don't have that much at the moment. We just have Twitter, which does enjoy a fair amount of traffic. We have Reddit, which we've only just recently started posting to. And we have Discord, which we post to a few different servers, updates to the game. Hopefully, pretty soon, we're going to get a publisher that will help out with the marketing because we, on our very shoestring budget, do have a bit of a hard time with outreach. But when people do finally see the game, they usually freak out, so we know that we have something on our hands. It's just with the amount of money we have, it is a little rough to get it out there and in front of people's eyes.
The people that I've interviewed prior, the indie game developers, they also stated that they have like trouble with marketing. Some prefer to do it a certain way. Like one person's doing marketing through TikTok, another person's doing live streams on Twitch to get the word out. But yeah, I've checked out. I'm in your Discord, and I checked out the people in there, and yeah, it seems like it's very active, and there's definitely some traction, some interest in the Discord page. So you're doing a good part of that. So that's commendable for sure. Twitter, I think Twitter is like one of the ways that I found you, because I'm always looking, for indie game developers and like indie games in general. I'm always looking to try out new stuff, new experiences, and yeah, I found out about your game through Twitter. So there you go.
YouTube is probably the place that I get wrecked the most when it comes to marketing. I very much struggle to keep in the triple digits with my videos in terms of view count. But on Twitter, today I just had a video that had 21.6 thousand views.
Very nice.
But on YouTube, I'm struggling to swing 100. So, yeah, YouTube's great when you're already big or when you already have a bunch of subscribers, but just starting out on it, it is a very, very hard uphill climb that's much harder than other social media platforms.
YouTube is very tough, but like there's some ways you could work around it, especially with the titles and the description, the SEOs, all this stuff, the thumbnails. The thumbnails is huge. You gotta make a good one to get people to click on it. So yeah, definitely it's harder on YouTube. I tend to notice that people like behind the scenes stuff and challenges. Like you could do like 31 days of the behind the scenes of game development. Just show the progress of your game, and people could click on that and be interested in that. You never know what people are into. We're all learning. You and I were both learning, so it just we're in this together. We're definitely in this together. I see on your itch.io page that you made several games prior to this one. I've played the demo for one of them. It's called Xander, the Monster Morpher Universe Breaker. And I realized there are quite some similarities between games, especially with monster catching elements. Do you develop your games with this in mind?
Yeah, Mythcaller is a spiritual successor to Xander the Monster Morpher Universe Breaker.
And what is your thought process whenever you like make games? Like what goes behind your mind?
It depends on the game that it is. If it's a Xander or a Xander-like game, I've been doing that series long enough that I just have a good feel for what makes the game right and what makes the game fun. But when it comes to games that aren't Xander related, uh, it all comes down to what do I want my player to feel, and how can I keep their attention throughout the entire game? How do I make it so that there aren't any parts of the game where the player gets to it and they're like, "Oh, God, this part again."
uh,
So it's all about keeping that flow, keeping that feeling, and feeling out the game as I'm making it, rather than planning everything out uh,
yeah.
ahead of time.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. I could totally understand why you would think like that, because you want to make the game that players would love to play and just feel a sense of joy.
Yeah.
When I was playing that demo for Xander the Monster Morpher Universe Breaker, I was like turning into different animals, and I was like, whoa, I'd never seen that before. Like that is cool. Even though I was like dying a lot, but I was like, this is different. I have not played something like this. Is Xander like a character, or like is it a series? What exactly is Xander?
He's both. He's the main character of the series, and well, a lot of people only know Universe Breaker, because that was the only one that was really seriously made. The other ones were mostly just for my friends. They are all up on itch.io though,
Yeah,
but with Universe Breaker, the game stars Xander, this blue-haired monster morpher guy, as he figures out why he can transform into monsters. It's not very apparent at first. Someone picked him up off the ground one day when he was morphed into the form of this big blue frog, and he's trying to figure out why he can morph into monsters, why these monsters are attacking the world. And as the plot goes on, it gets trippier and trippier as the plot twists just start to trickle down.
wow.
So the story is something that is very much present in the game. It's very important. So the game was named after the main character so that the player kind of connects with him a bit more.
I think a story is crucial to a game, because it will definitely shape how a person, a player, would feel when they're playing a certain game. It definitely brings more meaning to it. So I think it's super important. Yeah, the gameplay is also important as well. It's probably the majority of the game, but I think its story is what carries the game overall. Keep at it. Keep the players interested for sure.
Yeah, definitely will do. And Mythcaller's got even more story in store.
Awesome. I cannot wait for that. I'm super stoked for it. Video game development can be a tiring process. What do you do to keep yourself from burning out?
It's kind of funny. I see posts all the time on Discord, on Twitter, about how game devs don't play games anymore. And, that they just work all the time. They work at their job, then they come home and work on their indie game. And it's like, I see this meme so much, and then I think back to a time in my life when I did do that. It was back in college, and it made me so crazy, drove me so insane that part of the mental health struggles that I had as a result of that, it made its way into Xander Universe Breaker's story. I don't know, maybe some people can do it, but I certainly can't. So, whenever I am just working too much on the game, sometimes I'll take a step back, play other people's games, maybe other people in the indie community. I don't think I've gotten a AAA game in maybe 5 or so years. It's all been indie.
Oh
And
wow, it's a long
then,
time.
yeah, I mean, nothing in the AAA industry's really interested me in the longest time, whereas indies have. Like, I just dumped how many hours? I just finished it. I like 30 some hours into Monster Sanctuary. Just finished it yesterday.
Oh, very
Uh,
nice.
yeah, so I do still play games. I don't fit into that meme, and I hopefully never will again because oh my god, the the things that does to your mental health to just constantly be working on games but to never be playing them. I would always go out to eat with my girlfriend, and we would get sushi, all you can eat. I would love talking to her when we were doing that. It was quite a fair bit down the road, like about an hour, so we would just talk as we were driving, and uh, those times were some of the best times in my life.
Aw,
So,
that's so
uh,
nice.
that's just kind of what we did whenever we weren't working on the game.
When developers work on games, yeah, they work hard. They work hard on it, and sometimes they don't have the time to play the games. But I'm glad that you took a break here and there to play some of your favorite indie titles. And I think mental health is very important. I think it's a priority, um, and that's going to help you in the future. It's gonna shape you into a better person because I rather you delay the game and just focus on your health. Even though I like what I see and I would love to play it as soon as possible, your health is super important than releasing a game and you not being as healthy as possible. That's just my opinion. But I'm glad that it seems like you're doing better now.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's between adding another month or two onto an already 3-year development process and have me be happy and healthy and ready for a sequel, or have me go completely insane and potentially not even have me be here anymore after the game is released.
God forbid.
So,
I hope that you live a long life, and you shall. So I think you're gonna be all right. Just your mental health is number one, numero uno. That's what I think. So yeah, what is 2 months to get the game early? What is it really? Okay, you got the game early, but at what cost?
yeah, it's all about perspective.
Yeah, it
You know,
definitely is. It definitely is, and I'm happy that you're doing better now. And you're right here talking to me, and you sound like the best right now. You sound like $1 million.
hopefully I can get $1 million from Mythcaller. Hmm.
Well, that's if the people check out your game and wishlist it and communicate and provide feedback. That's how it's gonna happen.
Yeah.
Who knows? Name me a few things that makes players not want to buy a game.
Not want to buy a game. Well, I could tell from the reception on Xander the Monster Morpher Universe Breaker, graphics not melding with somebody would definitely cause them to not pick up a game. As a matter of fact, that's one of the reasons why I focused on graphics so much on Mythcaller was because the critical reception for Universe Breaker was astounding. I've had DMs from people telling me it's their favorite game of all time, and yet the reason why a lot of people steered clear from it was because of the graphics. Then they see Mythcaller and they're like, "Ooh, but this one looks nice," and I'm like, "Well, the gameplay is pretty similar. It's just the difference is the graphics." So that would probably be my number one answer there, just from personal experience.
It's hard. Players they could be very judgmental. Like within the first minute, they can look at something and be like, "Nope, it's not for me. I don't want to play this." Even though it's a good game, even though it's fun, even though it has a lot of replayability, but that's how it is. Like you just have to be really good at convincing people that they should play your game or try out the demo. I think honestly, if there's a demo out, there should be no reason why at least people shouldn't try it. Because if the demo's free, you're not paying for it. So at least have a demo, and if they like it, they like it. But yeah, in the end, people will judge a game based on a trailer, based on graphics, based on a character, based on everything. That's just how people are in life. It's harsh, but it is what it is. Even I myself do this sometimes. I look at something, I'm like, no, I don't want to spend $15. Okay, the game is kind of okay, the graphics look alright, but I don't know.
It's harsh, but it is understandable. There are so many games coming out that you can't put your attention toward everything, and you should only really buy things that you would really want to buy. Uh, Buyer's remorse is never feels good.
No,
It's
definitely.
just when it comes to as a developer making graphics that people would want to play, even for a game that only costs like $5, it is a big uphill battle. Games like you, as an indie developer, have to make games that would have looked AAA 10 years ago in order to even get half an eyebrow to raise from most people.
Yeah, like it has to look incredible, and sometimes it ruins like the indie game developer's vision because with engines that they're working with, and the whole project has to be scrapped, and they have to start from square one again, and it's hard. It's like you can't impress everybody, because if you impress everyone, you're jeopardizing your own vision, and the game is going to end up being totally different in the end. It's going to be like something you didn't even think about when you first started it. It's going to be a totally different game.
Yeah, like I've and also there are times where I feel like newer devs really focus on the graphics, and they're smart to do that when it comes to sales,
Yeah.
but they don't have what we back in the day had, where we would just slowly grind up our abilities with actually making the game itself. Well, not really caring that much for the graphics. I mean, my God, look at Flash games from back in the day that
Flappy
we all used
Bird.
to play. Yeah, and Newgrounds, man,
Oh,
Newgrounds was the stuff back then.
oh my God. You just unlocked a memory of mine. I used to play Flash games on there all the time. Like weird Mario Flash games that, Nintendo would definitely not approve of.
Yeah,
Oh man. That just unlocked the memory back in the early 2000s.
when it comes to influences, I would say that era is probably one of my biggest influences. Loved it so much.
Oh
But
man. Yeah. I'm there
back
with you.
then, we would all care about the gameplay and just making people laugh and stuff. But now, with graphics being like the king, a lot of newer devs that have played their games, I've noticed that the gameplay is usually very unpolished, and it's clear that they didn't have a very good feel for the gameplay when they were making it. The graphics were fantastic though, but half the time I'm just thinking like, I don't know, I feel like the art of gameplay is slightly being lost with this big boom in graphics, and I can't say that I exactly like the change.
When people get pressured, they sacrifice some crucial things about a game. And
Oh yeah, and that happens all across the industry.
do you believe that that kind of thing, that kind of like philosophy, sucks out the soul of a game, or like the work that the developer puts through the game? What do you think?
I don't think it's possible to suck out the soul of a game by just rushing it. Some of my favorite games of all time were rushed, and I wish that they weren't. I wish that the devs had all the time that they wanted and needed.
Hmm.
But when it comes to the soul, it's very hard to get that soul to go out, except through one way that does unfortunately happen very often. It's with executive meddling,
Yeah.
where a big producer or big executive in a company tells the creatives that they need to make the game in a specific way in order to boost profits.
Yeah.
Usually, what this means is they just went to a boardroom meeting, looked at the cold hard statistics of what players are trending towards buying into, and going, hey, let's just make our version of that thing. Whereas the creative is going, no, that's not what this game is. And the executive says, well, tough crap. We're the ones funding the game, and we're the ones that own the IP, so you're going to do what we say. That I feel like can definitely take the soul away from a game because no matter how much you love a property, no matter how much you love working on a game, you're never going to feel good going into work every day and having some guy who's never played a game in his life tell you you gotta add in loot boxes or else you're getting fired. That would drain on anybody's psyche, and it's unfortunately incredibly common. A quote that I've just really stuck in my head for the longest time is is something to keep in mind with every greedy game that you play that used to be good. Like if a series turns greedy over time, you just have to remember that the director of that game played all of the same games that you did when you were a kid. They played Banjo Kazooie, they played Mario 64, they played Pokemon, and they were inspired by it. But they had all the ideas that you might have. You might be sitting there at your computer thinking like, man, if I made games, I'd be killing it. I'm a great ideas guy. You just got to remember those people have those same ideas. It's just usually the businesses that are making them make bad games. But these guys, they have all the heart and soul that the rest of us do. It's just
Yeah,
when it comes to the decisions of the companies, sometimes that heart and soul just can't come out.
that is true. And one example, I hate to say this, but Rare is one example. Is one that
Oh,
comes to mind. I'm sorry, I love Rare so much. I love that company, but
me too, but
but
I
like in
get
the late 2000s and the early 2010s, like they just been making Connect games, and people don't want that. And I know that some of the developers that work at Rare, they don't want to make it too. It was definitely a rough transition. A lot of people are sad about that. So I could definitely understand where you're coming from when you mention all that. It's just unfortunate. It's nothing we could do. The only thing we could do is just make sure that does not happen to your game, or like any indie game developer that's listening right now. Like, don't get tempted by these greedy corporations that want to just milk the series. They don't get tempted. Even though when they're showing money bags in your face, just don't get tempted. And you'll see that people are going to fund it. People are definitely going to fund your game, and they're going to support you. There's going to be a community that's going to support you all the way through.
people, individuals, they're your friends, but companies, they're not your friend. When you're going up on the negotiation table, you got to have all those strategies that you've ever employed in your games. All those turn-based games that you've played, get in that mindset because it's all a game,
It's like a
and
battle.
yeah.
You know the saying, nothing personal, it's just business.
Yep, definitely. You gotta live by those words. Definitely have your friends, have your dev buddies, have the people you talk to on Discord. That's what it's all about, your friends. But these companies, they're not your friends. Don't let them trick you into thinking that they're your friends because then you're gonna wake up in 10 years with your property stolen from you and you're gonna go, man, what happened? I thought these guys were my buds.
Yeah, you
I
gotta.
know a lot of indie devs that have stories like that.
That's very unfortunate. You definitely have to look out for yourself, because this is your baby. You got to protect it at all cost.
Definitely.
So I noticed you mentioned before, like you mentioned that two people were working on Myth Caller. It's you and who else is working on this game?
That would be my girlfriend.
Oh, very nice, very nice. And you guys been working together for a couple of years now on these games.
Yeah, we started just with me making the games, but she went to college for art, and eventually we started making games together. I think we first started in 2020, so it's only been like a year or so.
It's very like heartwarming to know that you have a partner on your side making games that you like to make. There's like a sense of reinforcement, support, and that just helps the process. That's what I believe. It definitely helps the process of
Oh, absolutely.
yeah.
There's no one I would rather have on my right hand than her.
Oh man, you're gonna make me cry right now. Is this your full time job, or do you have anything on the side that's helping you with the bills and expenses?
Well, I used to have a full-time job, but that the vid of the co variety that has happened the past few years has definitely made that a bit harder. So right now, yeah, I'm just putting my all into this game.
It's very nice. It's very nice. At least you're being productive. And you know, I'm right there with you. The COVID, affected my ability to work. My company turned me down back in April 2020. So it's been like a year since I've been unemployed. So I'm there with you. I could understand. I could relate to you. Don't worry. As long as you're keeping productive, you're working to your goals, and hopefully that's going to pay out in the end. So I'd say keep working. Try to find any way to keep yourself stable financially so that you can continue to do this. And I'm rooting for you. And hopefully everyone that's tuning in is rooting for you as well. I hope that's going to be the motivation that you need to keep going.
Yeah, thanks, man. It always is the motivation to have people rooting for me in the game to keep on going. I have a fair bit of savings saved up, luckily. So, yeah, we're gonna be okay for a little bit. Hopefully, we're gonna be getting that publisher, and I can negotiate a good deal to keep food on the table. But else than that, I think things are gonna end up just okay.
All right, so now I have some questions from Twitter. I posted a post on Twitter. Lost Between Worlds says that what influenced the themes of your game and your main character?
Ooh, the themes. Well, I would say that my mental health struggle that I had in 2020 and before that in college did also influence this game, not just Xander Universe Breaker. But when it comes to, or that's just with the story, mostly just, taking things easy and not taking things seriously is mostly the theme of the game. I can't boil that much about it. This is a very plot twisty game. They start about 10 minutes in and they do not let up. But
Okay.
a lot of it is just about taking life at face value and just having fun because we're not always gonna be around.
Yeah,
It,
this life is I don't want to say short, but we only got one life, so make it count.
yeah, it's shorter for some than others, and it's almost never as long as we would like it to be. So just have fun and just make sure that every now and again you step back and you look at what's important. And that kind of theming is really what influenced the story there.
Do you believe the passion, people working on goals? You think that's like a gateway to feeling alive? Because a lot of people, they go on about their lives and they don't really know what they're doing, so they tend to like try to find goals and like projects and things to do. Like, you think that's a gateway to like truly feeling alive? What do you think about that?
Oh, definitely. Even just little things. Like, even if you're down in the dumps and you don't feel like you can do anything, your room in your apartment's all messy, your fridge hasn't been cleaned in weeks. Sometimes just setting a goal as small as that to just clean that fridge and can sometimes bring you out of a rut for even just a little bit. And when it comes to the bigger goals, man, you ever grow up watching shonen series like Naruto and One Piece and Dragon Ball and whatnot? How you have these characters with these big, lofty goals, like I'm gonna be the strongest in the universe. I'm gonna be the Hokage, the ninja president, or whatever. Uh, I know, as cheesy as it sounds, I've kind of lived like that in the back of my mind, where even though I know, realistically, am I going to be the number one dev in the world? Yeah, probably not. But in the back of my mind, I've always got this little Naruto in the back of my brain going like, nah, man, you're going to do it. You're going to be the number one. Believe it. And, sometimes that little voice in your head just keeps on pushing. It keeps you pushing forward because then you do accomplish something. Maybe something small, maybe a Twitter post that did really well, maybe a YouTube video with a bunch of views, and that little guy in the back of your head sticks his thumb up and goes, you know what? You did it. That's you. A week ago, you didn't think that you could do it, but now look at you. You're
You're doing
up
it.
there. Yeah.
I could totally understand that. Like the little goals, like for me, example, when I wake up early in the morning, I tidy up my bed, my blankets, and you can't really see it right now, but my bed is looking really good right now. It's like it's looking smooth, and I feel good. Like it makes me look more clean. Like it just makes me feel better about myself, and I just like doing it. So that's like the small goals that makes me feel better. There's actually one big goal that I did a long time ago. Back in 2009, I ran a marathon, and okay, this is like I didn't have the training, I didn't exercise, like I just went into it, and boy, was it a struggle. But I was like breathing so hard, it was like crazy. At the end of it, I was like, did I just really do that? So yeah, the goals, whether it's small or big, definitely makes you feel better about yourself. So just you gotta make those goals, and hopefully it turns into something else in the future. You never know what could happen.
Yeah, you never know what spots you'll find yourself in.
Yeah, life is mysterious. Okay, so I have another question from his name is Operation Outsmart. He's another indie game developer, and I actually interviewed him prior. He asked you the next game after Mythcaller, right? If you
Yeah.
had $1 million, what kind of game would you make?
$1 million. That's a pretty nice investment. Honestly, I mean, it's no secret. I'm okay with saying this that Mythcaller is definitely gonna get a sequel. It probably would just be a sequel to that game because I do want to set up a franchise. But I would probably still keep the graphical style. I do like the 2D, 3D style. I wouldn't really want to change that. I would probably hire more people to put in more stage details, uh, to just make it look as pretty as physically possible. Like, the trailers. As a matter of fact, the game is out now. Oh my god. To Psychonauts 2?
Yeah. Oh my God, I want to get that game.
I know, it looks amazing. And I would kind of want something on that graphical tier, but in the style of Mythcaller when it comes to the graphics. When it comes to the gameplay, I would just be keep on going on with the way that I have now. Of course, with more investment, I would have more time to make it. So I would add in way more little details that would make the player have fun, like more things that would bounce the player up, like springs and bridges that would bounce you around a bit. More platform types that would be fun. I basically just focused on making the game that I'm already making because I already feel like it's something that I really want to do. Take that to the next level. Take that to the $1 million level. Right now, I'm not sure if I'm going to be able to do multiplayer because of cost reasons. But with $1 million, hmm, dedicated matchmaking servers would be great. Trading online, that would be amazing.
Okay.
Could still happen with this game depending on the funding. We'll see how Kickstarter goes, but else than that, yeah, I think that's what I would do.
We have about a few questions left. Are you having fun so far?
Oh yeah, I mean, some days are easier than others. There are days where things just break all the time, things that were working yesterday. So while I wanted to make progress on that day, it turns out that I'm just fixing a bridge all day. And other days I'm just drawing sprites, which is really not my favorite part of the job. But then other days, it's fantastic. Girlfriend and I are really bouncing off of each other. We're having a lot of fun doing it. We're making fun mechanics, fun stages. We'll have posts that do really well online, so I'm constantly talking to people. It's definitely a lot of fun on those days. And it's those days that keep me going through the days that might not be quite as fun.
I'm super excited for what you're going to be doing in the future. So yeah, just let me know what's up.
Yeah, thanks, man. Definitely will do.
In your game Mythcaller, players get to choose their starter pets. Basically, Juncold is the water type, Galvanoco is the electric type. Is it the electric type or no?
See, the funny thing is, there aren't any types in Mythcaller. It's kind of like Xander in that regard, where there is a family system where the monsters have different families like reptile, cryptid, infernal, and whatnot. But
Hmm.
that only affects fusion. When it comes to the actual combat, there's no super effective system or whatnot
Oh, okay, okay.
because the game is actionized and it's a platformer. So like I didn't want the player to be focusing on elements the whole time. I wanted them to be focusing on the strategies. Like if an enemy's above you, I want you to use a arcing attack like a grenade. If an enemy's far away from you, but it's a pretty straight shot, I want you to use like a sniper rifle type attack. So that's more what the game is based around rather than elements. So it's fair to say that June Cold is like this watery ice guy. Galvanoco is an electric guy, and Shisinj is a fire guy. But the actual elements themselves actually don't play that much of a role.
In your game Mythcaller, players get to choose their starter pets. You have Juncold, you have Galvanoco, and Shisinj. How many animals will people get to capture in Mythcaller?
Uh, so with Xander, we had 108 monsters, and with that game, it was pretty easy to make the monster sprites themselves because the camera was directly above your head. So your monster would just face the mouse and it would literally rotate to see the mouse cursor, or if you were using a controller, whatever direction you were going in. The problem with Mythcaller is that the monsters are way more detailed. They have, I think, on average, around 200 sprites, like 200 frames of animation per monster, because they face the front, the sides, the back, they jump, they attack, they get hurt. They have animations for all of that. So it's probably not going to reach the levels that Xander had with 108 monsters. But I would say, this also kind of depends on the funding. I would say 70 plus would be a good estimate.
Let's say with the release of Mythcaller, the Nightmare Shaman, post release, will there be more animals as bonus content? Like, will you be able to release more new content like that?
Yes, definitely. The game is very modular. We will be able to add in new creatures whenever we want.
Okay.
We're not sure how often or for how long we'll be doing that because we will be focused on sequels more than just extending this one. And one of the big things that we want to do, the issue is just the logistics of it, is being able to transfer your monsters from Mythcaller to the sequels.
Oh man, that just reminded me like back in like the 2000s where you have the Game Boy cables, you're transferring monsters from one Game Boy to another, and oh man, that's just another memory that I just had unlocked in my mind. So if
Yeah.
yeah, especially with Pokemon Red and Blue, just good times. Like if you could do that in your game, that's just going to be incredible. If it happens, it happens. If it don't, it's still looking like a good game anyways. So what keeps you going in life? What motivates you to make your games and to just keep going day by day?
Well, the thing is, sometimes it is as simple as, I have a leftover sandwich in the fridge and I really want to eat it. It was really good. Or it can be as complex as, there's a I had a big post on Twitter and a bunch of people are commenting on it and saying things about the game, and I just got to keep going and I just got to keep making this game in order to kind of keep up that hype and to make it so that these people will really enjoy it. So it comes down to little things or big things, depending on the day. It can either be one of my big goals, like a little Naruto in the back of my head's going, you're gonna be the best ever. You're gonna make that game. It's gonna be real good. Or it can be something as simple as just, man, I really want that sandwich right about now.
I like it. I like it a lot. That's a good perspective to put. Yeah, like I think just having a quote in your mind would definitely be like the push that you need to do that thing that you want to do that day. And also, like when you said Twitter and people commenting, that's just like making a good game, making people interested in what you have to offer, and also you as a person. People are people like the game, but also they want to know you. Like I want to know what's going on with KaratKurro behind the scenes. How's he doing? How's the game going? How's the process? Yeah, like I understand when people comment on your Twitter post and it kind of gives you a little high, it makes you feel super good.
Gives you that boost, makes you feel like you're doing something right.
Definitely. And I believe you're doing something right. You're definitely on the right path. A lot of
Thanks,
people,
man. I try my best.
yeah, you're definitely doing it. And I think we can all learn from you. We could all learn something from you today.
Oh, glad I could be here then.
I'm glad that you're here too. I'm very glad. What is your message to tell new up and coming indie game developers who are just starting right now? Like, what's your message to them?
Don't take things too seriously. This is an industry that will beat you down over and over and over again. You will have days where you will feel like you were just pounded into the dirt. But the thing is, just don't take it seriously. Don't, if you're making your first game, don't have this grand vision in your head of like, oh yeah, this game, this one right here is going to be my magnum opus. It's going to be the best one ever. Like, just take it day by day. Just have those goals in your mind. Definitely have those goals, but just focus on having fun making the game because you were way too early in your career to be dealing with the stress of having to make the game to please others and to have deadlines and whatnot. If you're just starting, God, you are in some potentially really fun days where you're going to be figuring out how to do some basic things to the more experienced people, but really pivotal things to you. Like, I remember when I made my first turn-based system, it was super basic. It used like MS Paint graphics, but man, was it a huge high getting that programming to work right. I definitely hold on to and cherish those feelings because those are the feelings that you're going to be holding on to for your whole career. Focus less on the end goal when you're that early in and just focus on having fun and wondering on if you should keep on going with it because it would be really bad to be knee deep into this stuff and then figure out that it's not for you.
I mean, I'm speechless right now. Like, don't take it seriously. You heard KaratKurro. Don't take it seriously. You're doing it. You're working at it, and you're motivated to do this project of yours, your game, whatever in life that you do. If you fail, don't take it seriously. Everybody fails. We learn from it. We learn from our failures. We learn from our mistakes. And the thing is, I hear a lot of people saying, "Oh, I'm a failure. I'm a loser because I didn't accomplish this. I didn't accomplish my goals." No, you do not become your failures. You learn from the mistakes. The lessons learned from the mistakes makes you into a better person. Just because you failed a couple of times does not mean you are a failure. It does not mean you are a loser. You have to understand that. That's the most important thing because when you're thinking like that, it's gonna wreak havoc on anything that you do. Your projects, your goals, relationships, everything. So don't take it seriously. Like KaratKurro said, do not take it seriously. People do take it seriously, and we gotta let them know that if you're gonna take everything seriously, it's gonna be bad. Every day is gonna be a nightmare. You feel like you can't accomplish things. I know it's easier said than done, but you got to be better to yourself. You gotta give yourself more credit, because you're doing something that you want to do.
Yeah, definitely. And doing something that you want to do is going to make you fight in a big uphill battle because this world is full of very greedy people that would love nothing more than for you to be their puppet. Sometimes it can feel rough, and sometimes you can have that feeling in the back of your head of like, you know what, I don't want to think about things anymore. I just want to be a jellyfish, flowing through life, and you just gotta remember, and just don't take it that seriously. Just pick yourself back up. You'll be okay eventually. You just gotta keep on fighting through it.
I'm hoping everyone that's paying attention right now, that's tuning in, takes this message and tries to apply it. I know it's hard, but you're gonna be better in the end. The moment you start thinking positively, it tends to get a little bit easier. I'd say like maybe 1% better, but that 1% is good. It definitely will motivate you a little bit. I'm kind of speechless right now, but I'm gonna keep going anyways.
Yeah.
So the final question: what are your top 5 favorite and most influential games of all time?
Okay. Well, of course, Dragon Quest Monsters is gonna be up there. I'm not really sure which one though. Kind of depends. They each do something really well, but I would say the first one. I the one on Game Boy Color, the world of that game just feels like home. And sometime, maybe the sequel to Mythcaller, maybe a spin-off, I would want to make a world that's kind of similar to that in feeling.
Awesome, awesome. Okay, and what are your other four?
So this one is going to be one where I'm not sure how many people have even heard of this one, despite the fact that it's not even indie, and that is Tak and the Power of Juju.
I have never heard of that one.
Yeah, it's a game that was published by
Oh, I'm
Nickelodeon.
so sorry. Yeah, it was on the GameCube, right? I have not heard that game in quite some time. And yeah, you were saying it was made by Nickelodeon?
Yeah, it was published by Nickelodeon. A lot of people think that the TV show came first, but actually it was the games, like, I forgot how many years before the TV show, like 6 or so. Uh, it was originally a trilogy of games made by Avalanche Software, and they are probably one of my biggest, like, direct game influences. They are so damn funny. They have this humor and this cinematic quality to them that is just so rare. I would say the only thing that I could really compare it to in that sense is maybe like the Ratchet and Clank series or Psychonauts, where it's kind of like a playable cartoon, but the gameplay is also really, really good.
Okay, cool, cool. What about your top three?
Yeah, let's see. For the other three, hmm, kind of rough narrowing this down. I'd probably say Dark Souls 1 is up there. I know it's a unorthodox choice considering how the rest have been, but I don't know. I just love the level designs in Dark Souls 1 more so than even the rest of the franchise. I know everyone loves Bloodborne, and I do love the graphics to Bloodborne, and I do love the world of Bloodborne. It is very much my aesthetic, but like, because I love that Halloween type stuff. But when it comes to Dark Souls 1, the level designs in that game are phenomenal. If I could give an 11 out of 10 to the way the levels are laid out, I would.
Two more to go. I'm putting you on the spot, my friend.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Well, let's see. So, I can't really say that one. So it's kind of forbidden, but you know what? I gotta say it anyway. I gotta be putting my man on the spot. So early on, when I was on Twitter, when I just made my account, I would say that was maybe a few days in. I had maybe 3 followers or so. I met a guy named Scimitar DD is what he went by online, and he was making a game called SM4R, and it was an acronym for, and he's gonna kill me for saying what the acronym is, what it actually is, but it's called Smiley Man 4 Remake, and it's a 2D MMO mockup where like it is single player, but it acts like an MMO. There are characters in the game that act like, if you've ever played an MMO, you know these archetypes of players where they'll like stand on the corner and be selling stuff, buying GF 255 gold and whatnot. The humor of the game is like caricaturing those types of people. And the gameplay is kind of like old school World of Warcraft from way back in the day. And after playing it, it's just playing the demo that went on for like, I don't know, 20 hours. So it was longer than most games, and it was just a demo. Because this game was just that good, and the world pulled me in just that much. But the reason why I say the game is forbidden is for as good as it is, and for as much as I would want it to be finished, it wasn't. And I doubt it ever will be. Because the creator, Scimitar DD, moved on to other things. And while I support him in everything that he does, he is the best game maker creator I've ever seen in my life. He knows his way around that program better than anyone else. I still just wish that game was finished at one point, because it was 95% done.
Oh wow, that's very close to completion.
Yeah, and I understand his reasons for not finishing it. It's just, to this day, can't help but to be a little sad about it, and that's why it's the forbidden pick.
There's $60 games that go for 8 hours. You're telling me?
Oh yeah.
You're telling me there's a demo out that's 20 hours? That's
and wow. It was fantastic. It had so much effort put into it. So that's not a 20 hours of like padded out gameplay. That is a 20 hours of very carefully crafted gameplay that made me rethink what an indie game could be.
What's your top favorite game of all time? What is that?
All 5 of these are like up there at the favorite, so I wouldn't say that there's a particular order to any of this.
Okay.
But when it comes to the last one on the list of 5, rough narrowing this one down. Probably the roughest narrow down of them all. In terms of just pure influence and pure how much it has changed me, I gotta say Dragon Fable.
Wow. I have never heard of that game. Is that on Steam or something? Or where can you find this game?
So it was, or no, it still is, a Flash RPG from back in 2006. And it has been going every week since 2006. Gets an update every week, like a Saturday morning cartoon. And it is now not online anymore, of course, because of the whole Flash debacle, but you can still play it in the developer's own game launcher. I think it's the first indie game I ever played. The first big one. I might have played like smaller games on Newgrounds and whatnot, but this is a full and complete RPG made in Flash that has been updated every week with new characters, new storylines, and it is still going to this day. The original creators, to my knowledge, aren't working on it anymore. It's somebody else writing the story and somebody else doing the art. And they are just as good as the people making them back in the day. It is never really dipped in quality. Matter of fact, it's only gotten better as time goes on.
Wow, like every week the game gets updated. Since 2006. Now that's an indie game. That is an indie game right there. That's just incredible. Like a game can get that much love and updates for so many years. just shows how much passion someone could have. Like you're making me want to check Dragon Fable, go on Newgrounds again, and just see all the funny Flash games. Like I'm having all these memories just flash into my mind right now.
Those were the days, man. Those were the days.
Those were the days, huh? Oh man, this was a pleasure. I really enjoyed our interview.
Yeah, I loved being on the show. Thanks for having me here.
No problem. It was my pleasure, and honestly, I got to know more about you, and I learned a couple of things along the way. So I'm really glad that we got to do this. All right, everyone, give it up for KaratKurro. His game is called Mythcolor: The Nightmare Shaman. It's in development right now. In the meantime, you can check out his previous game on Steam called Xander the Monster Morpher Universe Breaker. The game is $4.99. The money will definitely go out to help fund Mythcolor and other expenses as well. Do you have a Patreon, Kickstarter, any way for people to reach out and support you through social media?
The best way you can reach out and support right now is to follow on Twitter, follow on YouTube, and join the Discord. The Discord link is on YouTube and Twitter. Right now, we don't have a Patreon or a Kickstarter just yet. We want to have the publisher before we get the Kickstarter growing, because we want the Kickstarter to knock it out of the park. We want to have really nice things to show people so that we can get the most funding possible, so that we can deliver the best game possible. We want physical release boxes. We want potentially plushies for the backer rewards. We want enough stretch goals that we can satisfy everyone. So it'll be a while till we can get all of that piece together, of course. So right now, just stay tuned with the social media that we currently have.
Maybe we'll get to do a part 2 to this interview. Who knows?
Definitely. I'm glad to be here and would definitely be down for it. And those updates would be coming hopefully about every day.
All right. Thank you so much for tuning in. I'd recommend everyone that's checking out the video, tuning in, listening in right now, to reach out, to comment, and give some feedbacks to help KaratKurro with his game. Of course, feedback is very important, so he's definitely going to appreciate that. Positive, even negative, feedback is feedback, and that's going to help him with the game and the progress and all that. So, KaratKurro, is there any last thing you'd like to say before we finish this interview?
Just thanks for having me here. It was great.
You're definitely welcome. Thank you for being a part of this. I really loved it. I really loved talking to you and getting to know more about you, and I really appreciate our time together.
Yeah, no problem at all.
My name is SpiritBuddy, and I thank you all for tuning in and letting KaratKurro talk about his game. We appreciate you, and we're looking forward to hearing what you have to say about Mythcolor and the Nightmare Shaman. I thank you all for watching, and I will see you on the next one. Bye-bye now.
And I'm KaratKurro, and I'll see you guys next time, too.